and welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Ask Dr. Mumbi. My name is Dr. Mumbi Seraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do hope that you are moving into living your best life. I'm reporting live and direct from the foothills of Mount Zion. Should I call it Mount Meru? Whatever you want to call it. It is a sacred mountain of our people, just, taking in all those powerful good vibes and just sending you all the restoration vibes that you need, multiple just good vibes, good things happening may they happen in your life. Thanks to everyone that supports us on Patreon and enables us to bring you these stories. And thanks to every single person that also sends us love donations through PayPal. It has really enabled us to just continue to bring you the relevant information for the awakening of our people, which is happening in earnest. And as I said, now is the time. If there was ever a time, now is definitely the time to get out of the screens of Babylon so that you don't continually allow yourself to be willingly brainwashed. You can always send me a question for Ask Dr. Mumbi. Dr. Mumbi at drmumbishow.com is where you can reach me. And one of the questions I always get is, how do you know? What are the signs that you know that you're on the right path? What are the signs that you know you're on the right path? How do you know that you're a chosen one? How do you know that you're transitioning? Last week I covered signs that you are on the wrong path. Life is just hard. Everything is hard. Literally, that's bottom line on that. But you can definitely check out that video. But how do you know? Because I said, the most important thing is to focus on changing what's inside your mind, inside your spirit, inside your heart, and just expanding that, changing that by any means necessary, just pushing yourself out of your own mental prison so that life can start changing. So what happens when you start doing that? And, signs that you're in transitioning, signs that you're awakening. The greatest sign is that there's like a great shedding in your life. A lot of your old life just starts to fall away. Your job will fall away. Sometimes your relationships will end. Where you were living, you all of a sudden have to transition to a new home. But basically, because you see, you're raising your vibration. You're raising your mind, your thinking, your feeling. And with doing that, you can't stay where you are. And so the first sign that you are actually transitioning is that your reality starts to change. Sometimes it's slow and sometimes it's quick and fast. Friends fall away. Things that you loved doing back in the day, you just don't even have, you don't really want to be in that vibe anymore. You start being led to change the way you're eating, what you're eating. Because most of the times, before we get to this stage as chosen ones, we're usually in a self-destructive mode because nothing's working. Life is depressing. So you're usually just trying to literally destroy yourself. So by the time you're getting to this phase of by the time you're getting to the transition phase, it's just like the self-destruction. You can't really do that. And you start walking away from that, whether it was a heavy partying life or whatever. And then the next thing is the great confrontation. And this happens, many sometimes call it the dark night of the soul. Others call it, confronting the harsh truths of yourself. But it's really seeing yourself, and the world and the people around you for who and what they really, really are. And this starts the journey, and sometimes, especially recognizing the agents and allies in your own life, who has been working for you, who has been working against you. All of these things kind of start to, reveal themselves, and you start to see yourself and the world and the people around you as they really are. Spirit usually, starts to guide you into not lying to yourself about the dynamics of your relationships. And this is why, beloveds, many people find that when they enter the transition phase, they really can't stay. It's very, very rare that they will be able to stay with the person they married, because they'll find that they married they married from a lower vibrational side of themselves. So they married a lower vibrational person that fit that lower vibrational side. So once they start growing, a lot of conflict starts coming into the relationship, which is why we've been seeing the last last decade has been like the awakening decade, but it has also been, the decade which has witnessed the highest divorce rates, etc., etc. And it's just that once you elevate, you just can't be with that person. And so sometimes, if the couple is highly favored, they're able to transition together at the same time, but rarely does that happen. And often, there is that separation, and that can also become like a stuck energy, especially with you're dealing with a lower vibrational people, because many of us now try and deal with it physically instead of, because we don't have our spirit man fully figured out yet. So we don't know about, dealing with these things on a spiritual level. Secondly, you start to connect, increasingly to the voice inside. At first, you may not even know. Is it your guardian angels? Is it your ancestors? Is it the voice of God? You may not even know, but that voice, you start having more faith in it and you start hearing it more clearly. Because I think like when you're vibrating lower, there are many voices in your head, and any voice can come and mimic the voice of God, which is why, they tell you in that infantile stage to test the spirits. But, any voice can come and act like there's something and make you do things. But as you start to elevate, there's a voice that becomes increasingly more clear, increasingly more personal. You feel like you've discovered an old friend or a father or a mother, and it helps to guide you out of your mental prison. And you start relying on it more, you start having faith on it more, and so it responds more. And eventually, especially when you become fully awakened, you'll know precisely and exactly who that voice is, and you'll even now be able to differentiate between the voice of the Most High, the voice of your angelic realm, and the voice of your ancestors, etc., etc. But you notice that, it's amazing when these things start to happen in your life. It's absolutely something quite special, beloved. Let's take a short break. When we come back, I'll go into the final, I think 2 or 3 things that start to happen when you're awakening. If you have any, because I know there's so many awakened ones here. What was your awakening experiences? What were the things that you started to know that you were transitioning? Let us know in the comments below. I'll definitely find you there.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Time is never ending. Africa's star is rising. We know, we are the children of the young.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Prophetic Update. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you are moving into living life truly on your own terms, because that is what is required to of us in this season. And there's so much within us that is coming online. Our people, I did a show on a prophetic update on this a couple of weeks ago, where I talked about how the quarantine has been a blessing for our people, because so many of us have awakened, so many of us have come online. And what is happening in this season is that a lot of us are having our natural gifts, and I don't want to call this for the chosen ones or whatever. You know who you are. Because the chosen ones are the ancient ones. They're the ones who have been here over and over and over again, but those are stories for other days. And there's so many of us who are being activated at this time. So if you are prophetic, you're becoming even more prophetic. If you, used to get, if you are a healer, you're becoming more of a profound healer, where maybe before you just keep it to yourself, you and your family, and now it's just becoming more profound. And what is happening is that there's a lot of dormant gifts that are being awakened in us, not so that we can, not so we can show off or whatever to the world, but because these times dictate it. It's really hard to talk about spiritual things because so many people are wrapped up in religiosity and they just don't get it. And they also don't get that the debating time is over. You either know what you know or you don't know.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.